If you've been dealing with chronic pain like I have, literally a pain in my ass, then eventually a time comes when you decide, I've got to do something about this. I can't keep living this way.
And I believe that if we're going to be talking about a pain in your ass, I can't keep living this way. I got to leave for the show.
If you feel differently than Zach, stick around. We're going to tell you how, had I just questioned my beliefs sooner, I wouldn't be dealing with this literal pain in my ass.
But first, this is the Fit Mess, where together we learn to develop habits that help us live beyond our mental health struggles to create happier, healthier lives.
He's Zach. He lives in the future with his anxiety.
He's Jeremy, and he lives in the past with his depression. And we get together once a week in the present to share the obstacles we face and how we overcome them.
So I think sort of the heart of what we talk about here a lot, Zach, is really just getting your shit together, right? Being sick enough of your own shit to make some sort of a change. For you and I, that time has come multiple times in multiple ways for multiple reasons. I had another one yesterday. I have been dealing with this pain, literally this pain in my ass, this tailbone pain, since COVID. Literally, like when I started working from home, the ergonomic situation was not ideal. Ended up with this pain in my tailbone that just literally never went away, no matter what I did. I've been trying to go to acupuncture and physical therapy and all these different things to try and deal with it. And I literally, my doctor said, well, it's a tailbone. What are you going to do? I was like, there's got to be a better answer than what are you going to do? I mean, you have a medical degree. There's got to be something. So I was finally referred to a pelvic floor specialist. Up here, we call it physical therapy for you Americans. And I went and saw her yesterday and doing the full exam. And I'm waiting for there's this tear, there's this broken piece, there's like some structural defect, something. And the thing that I was super annoyed too, because I had to do all this paperwork ahead of the session, and it was asking a lot about like my mental health and, bowel movements and if I'm peeing 10 times a day and all these things. I'm like, well, come on, my ass hurts. You don't need to know about all this stuff, but whatever. So I'm answering fully honestly. She reads my chart, asks me what's going on, and she just goes, dude, that's stress. That's tension. Mm-hmm. You didn't do anything. Like you're carrying all of this stress and tension in your body, and you're carrying it there. And she's like, are you able to even like relax that part of your body? And I was like, huh? I mean, I'm just me. What do you mean? And so when she sort of walked me through the process of like actually fully relaxing my body all the way through, I had not realized that every minute of every day, I'm essentially shoulders to the ears guy, right? Like I don't do it there, but I do it in the rest of my body. And when I was able to finally like relax that part of my body, like it just this flood of like tears to my eyes, got super emotional, like this letting go of something I didn't even realize that I hold on to all day, every day was pretty overwhelming. And so she was just like, yeah, dummy, more of that. So here's some yoga poses you can do now. Like go to yoga. It would be really helpful for you. All these things that I know, and I, let me save you the effort here. I told you so, because you always tell me to go do yoga. I know, right? I know these things, but I think many people will resonate with this, where I have to choose, take care of me, take care of work, take care of podcast, take care of kids, take care of family. And I know I got to fill the cup first, but it's just, there hasn't been enough of a motivation. There hasn't been enough of a reason to take action to do something different. For me, I finally hit the point of, I don't want to live with this pain anymore. What will it take? And learning that, I now know. And so it's on my list. I'm researching where to start going to yoga. But it just was another one of those points in my life where it's like, it's a rock bottom to some degree of just like, this pain is now too much. I don't want to do this anymore. Time to make a change.
Yeah. And I would never tell you I told you so. I mean, that's just not who I am. But to anyone listening, I told him so.
Yeah. You have a long history. You have a long history of telling me things, and then me learning from somebody else that I should do those things, and coming to you and going, hey, guess what I got to do now? And you go, huh, how about that deal?
And I could have even told you a little bit about this one too, because there is a fantastic book that helped me out quite a bit, because you're not alone. Like people literally hold stress in their pelvic region. Mm-hmm. There's a book called Headache in the Pelvis, and it talks about all of the connected bits and pieces in your pelvis. Mm-hmm. And I mean, this is a sensitive topic, right? But all the bits and pieces down there that impact the rest of your body. And it's a big book. But I just remember like going, oh my God, and I have that too. Oh, and I can relax my pelvic floor and get rid of that. And I can get rid of this, and the headache and the neck pain and the blah, blah. All of that shit like comes from there.
Yeah.
Or can come from there, right? Like there's multitudes of things that can cause all of those things. But that book, A Headache in the Pelvis, I think it's by David Wise. Fantastic read if you like want to explore like releasing tension down in that region.
Yeah.
Because man, all of us hold it there.
It's
a spot where we all put it.
We'll link that book in the show notes. But yeah, the education she gave me on how basically it, like that's where your autonomic nervous system, like everything meets there. And so all of the fight or flight, all of the tension, all of the stress, all of the stuff you carry, you know, a lot of us walk around with our shoulders up around our ears all the time thinking that that's it. But like when you realize there's a part of your body that is just tense and tight and stressed out all the time and you don't even know it. And for me anyways, letting go for just that moment, I was just like, I felt like a fool. I'm like, I'm in a physical therapist's office and I'm like crying here. And she's like, oh no, I totally get it. Like that is a completely normal response based on everything that I see in your chart and everything you just told me. You're dealing with a lot and it all adds up.
I don't use this phrase often because it's not exactly appropriate, but there's those moments where you have your butthole clenches. You're like, you were so scared,
right?
Or something happened, like you had a butthole clenching moment from an emotional reaction is because your pelvic floor literally engaged.
Yeah.
Right. So like you say it as a joke, but that shit is real.
Yeah. It's literally a pain in the ass. Like I've been walking around thinking that I broke something, I damaged it somehow. And it turns out, no, just living through the last few years of my life has created this physical pain. And, you know, I mean, how many times have we talked about the body keeps the score? Literally, that's what's going on is all this pain is manifesting in literally a pain in my ass.
It is so funny that you have a pain in your ass. You are a pain in the ass. And we're talking about a pain in the ass.
We're nothing if not consistent.
But yeah, I've been telling you to do yoga for all of your ailments for a long time now.
Yeah. And I know, I mean, like, again, for me, it's one of those things, like we talk about how physical fitness, like working out, going to the gym, all those things, good for mental health. For me, yoga has always been more of a spiritual thing. I don't necessarily go to get stronger, to, you know, improve my balance, to tone up or any of that. I go for because of like the spiritual release. And honestly, there's times when that just feels self-indulgent, where it's just like, that's not important enough to neglect time from my family, to neglect time from my job, to neglect whatever other like real responsibilities I have, you know, big air quotes. So it doesn't feel like enough. But now when you start talking about physical pain and you start looking down the road of, do I want to be 60 still feeling this way? Do I want to deal with this pain when I'm 70, when, you know, when other things are falling apart? Do I also want to deal with this? That was really kind of the catalyst for me to go like, I don't want to spend the second half of my life in pain all the time. I need to do something differently. And again, it comes down to a physical therapist giving me the advice.
But you got to break it down. Like, I'm with you. Yoga is a spiritual experience for me, and the stretching is an added benefit. I don't go to yoga for those things. So you got to break it apart. There's yoga for spirituality, but then there's just street mobility work.
Yeah.
Where you're not working on the spiritual part. It involves a lot of the same aspects where whatever pose or movement you've got to get yourself into to hit whatever you're trying to hit, you know, taking deep breaths and being mindful about those breaths are really important. But in my head, I have to break it apart into two different things. There's yoga for spirituality, which is more meditation, mindfulness. And then there's mobility where I'm working on a specific part of my body.
And that's awesome. That's very intentional. I think in my case, every move sort of starts that way, especially when I haven't done it and I'm trying to get back into it. When you feel the physical resistance of like, bend the leg this way, hold this pose, that initial physical resistance, I feel like I'm doing the same thing. I'm like, okay, I need to work on this. This needs to loosen up. I need to be able to do this better. And once I'm finally able to relax into it and release that tension, that stress, whatever, that's when like the emotional part of it kicks in. So it's for me, it's like move to move. It is riding that wave of, oh, that hurts. That feels better. Oh, now I'm crying.
Which is so much different than my day. Cause like I wake up, I get out of bed. Oh, now I'm crying. And that's just how it always starts.
As a major research institution, Arizona State University offers the most online bachelor's degree programs, along with world-class faculty and dedicated support. Discover why ASU is ranked #1 in innovation for 9 consecutive years. Tap to learn more.
But to bring this full circle, I mean, we talked about mobility, yoga, right? What this is really all about is you hit a mini rock bottom, right? There's rock bottoms in our lives where we need to make massive change, and like you hit the rock bottom, you've got to do everything different. But there's also a whole bunch of little mini rock bottoms where you just had enough, and it's just enough to go do something about it, right? I wish that I could go take a lot of proactive activities before hitting that mini rock bottom, but a lot of times that's really what it is. But once you do hit it, like, you just got to get off your ass and go do it, whether it hurts or not.
And I think for me, the other big lesson that I'm trying to learn from this, and I'm sure I'll have to learn over and over and over again for the rest of my life, is to let go of my attachment to that's too self-indulgent. Like, it's one thing to be selfish and only do things for yourself and only prioritize your own desires, needs, wants, whatever. But most of the time when I hit these mini rock bottoms, it's because I've neglected something that felt too self-indulgent, when in reality it was probably basic self-care that I just needed to do from the beginning. So it's that idea that we talk about over and over again. Question what you believe. I believed this level of self-care was too self-indulgent, and I was wrong. And now I'm paying for it with physical pain that I have to now back my way out of. Ass first.
And there's no pain quite like ass pain. I mean,
it's pretty unique.
It hits different.
All right. Well, that's my latest mini rock bottom. I would be curious to hear what yours is. What are some things that have happened to you that made you have to make either small or big changes to somehow improve your life, deal with pain, whatever? I'd love to hear about that in the Facebook group. You can join that through our website in the show notes for this episode. That's at thefitmess.com. And that's where you'll find another new episode of this show in just a few days. Thanks so much for listening. We'll talk to you soon.
See everyone.
We know this podcast is amazing and doesn't seem to lack anything, but we need a legal disclaimer. Prior to implementing anything discussed in this podcast, it is your responsibility to conduct your own research and consult your physician. You should assume that Jeremy and Zach don't know what they're talking about, and they're not liable for any physical or emotional issues that occur directly or indirectly from listening to this podcast.